From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on February 20th, 2026, here at South Carolina Public Radio Studios in Columbia. On this episode of The Lede, we have a lot for you.
No way!
We look at the calendar and what's coming.
That's great.
Yeah, a lot of things are coming down. The House Freedom Caucus wants to try and impeach a solicitor. We have a House budget, folks. We have details on that proposed budget that's going to the House floor now. And the expanded homestead exemption bill advances. Representative Bill Clyburn is running for re-election after saying he wouldn't, and the state Supreme Court race gets a huge curveball.
Mega.
Also, check out the State House Gavel at scetv.org/thegavel, where Tuesday through Friday, Mayan Schechter and myself bring you recaps, previews, big and small State House moments, meetings, schedule highlights, photos, videos, and more. There's more. It's big and small. Also, breaking news, we are streaming State House Today live on YouTube. That's right, you don't have to tune into ETV World over the air to catch us at the start of the legislative day, where Mayan and I bring you a live update from the State House lobby during the roll call period of whichever chamber is gaveling in first that day. In fact, we even had House Speaker Merle Smith on Thursday. He was walking through the lobby and I grabbed it and I said, Merle! We're just, all right, it's on YouTube. You can catch it there at youtube.com/@SCETV News. Also, if you don't want to watch it, you can call us, 803-563-7169. That's our voicemail box where we love hearing from you guys, so you can jump in and give us something to talk about in the wind down section. We love your hot takes and your questions. It's your section. It's actually AT's time, but we're all just living in it. All right, we have a calendar check. We have wrapped week 6 of the legislative session. There are 12 more weeks left. So I guess that's, a third of the way through. President Donald Trump's State of the Union is on Tuesday. You can catch that live on ETV, and South Carolina Public Radio will be streaming that and carrying it live over the air. And we have the state Supreme Court election on March 4th. More on that in a minute. And filing for candidates running for election this year opens on March 16th. So we'll be getting some firm updates on who has declared. Now, this week started off with a lot of attention by a House Freedom Caucus-led legislative effort to impeach Fifth Circuit Solicitor Byron Gibson, who prosecutes cases in Richland and Kershaw counties. This effort by House Freedom Caucus Chairman Jordan Pace is rooted in a 2023 matter when convicted murderer Jared Price was released 16 years early from prison while serving a 35-year prison sentence for the 2002 murder of Carl Smalls Jr. Price assisted law enforcement in another case, and the law allowed Price's sentence to be reduced, and he was released early. An agreement signed out of public view by Gibson, the prosecutor in this case, and Price's attorney, state Democratic lawmaker Todd Rutherford, and then Judge Casey Manning. Now, no formal public hearings were held, and Smalls' parents were left in the dark on this deal. The state Supreme Court later revoked the deal, ultimately sending Price back to prison. Now, Gibson's critics have also seized on the high-profile case of Logan Frederico, a 22-year-old from North Carolina who was shot and killed last year inside of a Columbia home while visiting friends. It is unclear whether the legislature can impeach an elected solicitor. Later in the week, the House Judiciary Committee approved retaining Walt Wilkins as an outside counsel on the matter. Going to another major committee development, House Ways and Means. That's right, they approved their $15.4 billion budget and sent it to the floor this week.
Mega.
It will be debated the week of March 9th, which is coincidentally the midway point of the legislative session. Mayan has been covering the budget and pulled out some of these highlights, which include about $119 million to pay for the income tax bill, which reduces the 6% top income tax rate down to 5.39%. There's $150 million to raise starting teacher pay up to $50,500, which has always been a goal, $23 million for the state's private school voucher law, $8 million for the University of South Carolina's Neurological Hospital, $175 million for the Medical University of South Carolina's Cancer Hospital. We've talked about that before. You heard from leadership at MUSC about that hospital. $103 million for costs to maintain the Medicaid program, and $34 million for changes in federal funding match requirements for SNAP benefits. That's right, we're backfilling some federal funding changes. There's also $500 million for infrastructure and $67 million for a 2% across-the-board pay raise for state employees. Now, again, this will be debated in the House, it'll go to the Senate, and they will tinker with it on their own. But speaking of cash money, if you're over 65 and own a home, call me now for options on a reverse mortgage. That's a different job I have. Wow, that's embarrassing. Now, the Senate on Wednesday voted 44-0 to pass S768, which would expand the homestead exemption on primary residence property taxes for anyone 65 and older. So, doesn't apply to AT or me. Sorry, millennials, deal with it. Get on a fixed income, then call me. Call me now. The bill so far allows for an exemption of $75,000 for anyone 65 and older who moves to the state and lives in South Carolina for 5 years, and the full expansion of $150,000 once they have lived here for 10 years. It's also been grandfathered in for those who have been living here. Now, the House's income tax bill, H 4216, sponsored by Ways and Means Committee Chairman Bruce Bannister, is under debate now in the Senate. We also had several surprises this week, so let's start with the first, which was longtime Representative Bill Clyburn, who said at the start of the legislative session that he would not seek re-election to the District 82 seat that he's held since 1994. The 84-year-old Aiken Democrat at the time cited the needs of his family, especially his wife of 62 years. His wife, Beverly Clyburn, a mother of 3, an educator, and a longtime Aiken City Councilwoman from 1988 to 2011, died days later on January 30th. Now, Tuesday marked Clyburn's first day back in the House since her death, and while thanking his fellow legislative delegation and the chamber for their support, Clyburn made a surprise announcement.
My wife passed, and it was the toughest day of my life, January the 30th. And I tell you, it's just really tough, but it's you who made it possible for me to carry on, because I spent 32 years up here as a public servant, nothing other than that. And I certainly want to thank you for all of your letters and your flowers, your emails, your visits. It meant a whole lot to us. And I just want to say to you, too, that I have one of my family members here, my youngest boy, Tony. Tony, wave your hand. He thinks he ought to be following me around thinking I'm going to be emotional, but I can handle it, Tony. Okay. Let me just say that you have made me assure that I don't have to travel this path alone. You are here with me. I have a great delegation that has been supportive, and I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you all for your support. And I don't know very much what else to do other than to be a part of this family. So I have told my delegation that I am going to run for re-election because I want to be there for you.
Yes, Bill Clyburn there receiving a bipartisan standing ovation in the House chamber. But let's move over to the Senate, where on Wednesday we saw some big fireworks. Yes. As you know, South Carolina's 170 lawmakers will decide on March 4th whether Justice John Cannon Feal will keep his seat on the state Supreme Court or whether it's time for a newcomer. Again, kind of a rare move since incumbent judges are typically easily reelected. Alas, there have been concerns over his temperament and rulings that have fueled a race which includes former House Speaker Jay Lucas, a Darlington Republican. Lucas was the target of a public rebuke by Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey over the optics surrounding the closely watched race. Here is some classic Massey from the Senate floor.
And I'm not here to advocate for a candidate. I know all the candidates. I actually like them all, know them all personally, get along with all of them. I think they're all bright, and I think they're all well-versed in the law. But they're not all deserving of a seat on the Supreme Court. Again, I'm not here to advocate for any of these candidates. Of the 4 candidates for the position, I can make an argument for 3 of them. I'll have a preference among those 3 when it's time to cast a vote, but all 3 of those judges are capable and would serve well in that position. But there's clearly a push for the 4th candidate, and that really troubles me. Now, I'm not here to be critical of Speaker Lucas. He's a very smart guy. He's definitely a pleasant guy to be around. We worked together on several issues while he was Speaker and I served as leader. This really isn't about him. This is about all the rest of us. Now look, I know there are legislators who have geographic or personal loyalty, and they're going to vote for Jay Lucas regardless of who's running. I don't like that, but I understand that it exists. I don't think that's how we ought to make decisions about Supreme Court justices. And in fact, I think that we've been doing a really good job over the last several years of selecting justices who are exquisitely qualified for the position, regardless of geography, regardless of personal loyalties. We've been doing, as a legislative body, a good job of selecting Supreme Court candidates. But y'all, this looks really bad. It looks like backroom deals are being made for someone who is not as qualified for or deserving of the position. It looks like the legislature's cooking the books. Over the course of many years, the legislature's made significant positive changes at the Supreme Court. Ours is not an activist court. They're also not, as some would have us believe, shrinking violets and subservient to the legislature. They've recently shown us that. These are serious people who tackle serious problems. And while I disagree with some of their decisions occasionally, this court does good work. This court, unlike some courts that we've had in the past, does not inject itself into political questions. These are respected people who've spent years, their entire professional lives, earning the positions that they now hold. Please, let's not screw this up. Y'all, many of our institutions are under attack. And we all see that, we recognize it. Some of that attack is warranted. Much of it is not. Most of the attacks on the judiciary are not sound. Overwhelmingly, we have competent, highly qualified, and ethical men and women serving in our courts. We do not have the problems that are rampant in nearly every other state in the country. Some attack the judiciary and allege corruption or other structural problems, and most of those accusers are uninformed or have a personal interest in the attack. But electing a former legislative leader with no judicial experience whatsoever gives credibility to the unfounded assault. It douses the fire with accelerant, and it is wrong. But it is what many people expect us to do. People understand giving special treatment to friends, or even, especially when their friends aren't qualified. The public already thinks we don't play by the rules. They think we're all corrupt. They think we're going to pursue those things that are better for us or our friends or relatives, even if it's at their expense. Many people think we'd sell them out in a heartbeat if it's going to benefit us or somebody we know. And look, unfortunately, there have been people that many of us have served with who've given credence to that position. But you and I know that's far from the norm. I know you all. I know most of you really well. I know many House members. You are not corrupt.
There was more to that speech, but I had to cut it off because you guys were getting the point, right?
Yes.
But we will have a deep dive on the candidates and more ahead of the March 4th election. Now, recall here that the legislature changed state law last year that now allows more than 3 candidates to run for a judicial seat per race. There are 4 candidates total vying for that high court seat, including Justice Few, like we talked about, former House Speaker Jay Lucas, we just mentioned, and State Appeals Court Judge Blake Hewitt, and Administrative Law Court Judge Ralph King Anderson III. So, very stacked case there. All 4 were certified by the legislature's screening panel, the Judicial Merit Selection Commission. But Lucas, in particular, has faced the heaviest criticism this election cycle, given his tenure in and relationship to the lower chamber, and that he is the only candidate without bench experience. And Massey is not the only senator who has voiced concerns over Lucas's candidacy. State Senator Luke Rankin, who's an Horry County Republican and who chairs the Senate Judiciary Committee, also serves on the JMSC, and he penned a statement in which he said Lucas's candidacy raised questions and risks, quote, further inflaming skepticism about the process and about the justice our courts administer every day, quote. So you got Massey, who leads all the Senate Republicans. You got Rankin, who's over the Judiciary Committee. The Senate is not looking very big on Jay Lucas right now, guys. But again, the House has more members, but a lot of people have moved in the House too. A lot of people didn't serve under Jay Lucas as Speaker, so there's a lot of politics at play. So again, you're asking me, will Massey move votes? I don't know. What do you guys What do you guys think? Again, the Senate has 46 senators. The House has 124 members, and that gives the House a bit of an upper hand here. Again, there's also the supermajority of Republicans, but then when Democrats come into play too. But Massey told reporters informally that he's heard Lucas is very close to the needed number of 86 members. That was before this speech. He also said that it was about a soft counting of that. So we'll see. We will be watching this, talking, hearing things for the next 2 weeks on this, guys, and we'll be bringing you a deep dive soon. Big or small will be on the State House Gavel, SCETV.org/gavel. Moving on, South Carolina native Reverend Jesse Jackson died at 84 this week. Here is a segment that I produced with a 1982 interview Jackson did with SCETV and also Richland County Democratic Senator Daryl Jackson, sharing a personal story from the Senate floor about how Reverend Jackson personally motivated him to run for public office. South Carolinian and longtime civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson died February 17th, surrounded by his family in Chicago at the age of 84. Jackson suffered from a rare progressive neurological disorder that affected his ability to move and speak. Jesse Jackson was born and raised in Greenville, South Carolina. He became a part of the civil rights movement in 1960 and served as the point man in the Greensboro sit-ins. He quickly gained notoriety by rallying Chicago's black clergymen behind Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He joined King's March from Selma to Montgomery in 1965 and was there when the civil rights icon was assassinated in 1968. In 1971, Reverend Jesse Jackson founded Operation PUSH, which stands for People United to Save Humanity. He served as president of this national organization since its formation and during the time of this 1982 interview with Listerville Middleton, host of For the People on SCETV.
And that one of the criticisms of the civil rights movement is that its biggest beneficiaries have been middle-income and educated people. Do you think of that as a valid criticism, and what can be done to broaden the range of people who can benefit in black prosperity?
That's an invalid criticism. Mm-hmm. In 1965, when we went to Selma, Alabama to get the right to vote, there were 400 elected and appointed black officials in this nation. Today, there are almost 6,000. The economic range goes from the very bottom in many ways to the very top. From the very small, unincorporated towns to cities like Gary, Detroit, Los Angeles, and Newark, New Jersey. We've gone from 3 black congresspeople to 17. And the range of education and economic class varies there. That is an invalid accusation. One might say that people who are more prepared often have a greater ability to seize opportunity once the door is open. It's like if you're playing football and the line is open. It's open for whoever to run through, but those who run the fastest tend to get through there faster, which says something about education. People who are educated tend to be able to run faster. They tend to have more mobility. They tend to be able to do more with what they got. That's one reason why more people need to get education. But the fact is, all people now have the right to use the bathroom downtown, have the right to use the hotel or motel of their choice. All of them now have the right to register and now have the right to vote. Our movement is incomplete because we got our civil rights, we don't have our civil rights. We got freedom, but we don't have equality. So many people have the right to take a vacation but can't afford it. They have the right to open housing but can't afford to get a house. They have the right to go to college but can't pay tuition. And so the unfinished business of our liberation movement is indeed economic emancipation. But to say that the civil rights movement somehow made a provision for a certain class of blacks that was not made for other blacks is invalid. After all, when people tend to get their education and strive hard, they can change their class even though they can't change their caste. For example, when I was born on the poor side of town, you know, with the slop jar in the house like other neighbors, and the bathroom or the outhouse in the backyard, and the tin-top roof, and the coal bin under the house, and you cut kindling with the wood stove, and you washed on the wash pot, and you had the clotheslines hanging out in the backyard, and you had the garden. Everybody in the house and everybody in the neighborhood had a skeleton key to everybody else's house, and I had to walk past the white schools to get to the black schools and use the books 4 years after white children had used them and not have backs on those books and couldn't bring those books home because 6 of us had to use that book. So the fact is that some of us with the grace of God, are willing to go above and beyond the call of duty. I can't say that the Public Accommodation Bill didn't help me and my family. It did. The Voting Rights Bill didn't help me and my family. It did. But thanks be to God, I was so determined because my parents inspired me to use what I had. I simply took the most of what was available. And so some choose the high road.
Okay.
And some choose the low road. But I think it is an unfair criticism to somehow suggest that black leadership is less concerned about poor people than they really ought to be. I don't think it's a fair criticism.
Jackson ran twice for president in 1984 and in 1988, when he won 13 primaries and caucuses for the Democratic nomination. Jackson did work around the world for civil rights and was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2000. He was honored and remembered by members of the South Carolina House and Senate this week.
All right, members and guests, please rise for a moment of silence for Reverend Jesse Jackson. Please bow your heads.
And I'll leave you with this. I remember in 1984 being just a young man flying to San Francisco, standing on that floor with Reverend Jesse Jackson with the Speaker of the House, Speaker Brown from California, who was Reverend Jackson's friend. And there was a reception afterwards. There was an age limit. If you know anything about Speaker Brown, you understand why there could have been an age limit for that. And we were going, and I was just going back as a young man to my room, and Reverend Jackson called the late Dr. Walker Solomon, the late Kevin Gray, and he says, I need you to go get Darryl because I need you to bring him here. I need to introduce him to some political figures in California who are legislators. And I didn't know it, and he looked at them and he looked at me, and he said, son, one day you can do what they are doing. Just keep hope alive and remember that you will always be somebody. So I salute my friend, my mentor, a great leader, great humanitarian, the Reverend Jesse L. Jackson.
There's more you can watch at youtube.com/@SCETV News. Welcome to the wind down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here, along with A.T. Shire, lead podcast producer.
Hello, everyone. Great to hear from you. Apparently, this is my segment, according to Gavin at the beginning of his show. But welcome, Gavin. We have no calls.
No one calling and ignoring you.
Yeah, my segment can't get any calls. Gavin's got great cuts in the front half of the show.
Well, I have updates for you. I'm sure you have updates for people too. The Foot. Wasn't that the name of the Foot Clan in
The Foot? Yeah.
The Foot.
Yes. Yes. Shredder leads. Yeah. Shredder leads it. Correct. Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I need to watch it and unlock some childhood millennial memories right there.
Oh, it's amazing, dude. Toka and Razor. Come on.
You want, what is it? Regular or menthol or something? Cigarettes, which made no sense to me as a child. Still doesn't make. I don't know what they're talking about.
I can't believe they didn't put Casey Jones in the second one.
Casey
Absolutely.
Jones. Okay, I was wondering who was like the leader of that moment. It's like the Rufio, if you will.
Casey Jones is the guy that has like the sports equipment that fights with the Ninja Turtles against the Foot Clan and Shredder.
He had incredible hair too.
He had a great head of lettuce.
Yes.
But Gavin, let's get to your body, okay? Your foot.
That's the sound of me in my foot brace that I take off and I put on and I take off. And
Last we heard, folks, the day of the recording, the episode, Gavin found out he broke his foot.
Yes.
Where are we now?
Where
are we now?
We're almost on a full week here.
Yes.
Coming up on week 1. I got 5 more weeks left with this.
Yeah.
5 weeks. 5 weeks.
That sucks, dude.
It's really not that bad.
No, you're gonna get sick of it.
I'm there.
You're going to get sick of it.
Waking up at the boots right there just staring at me.
Yes.
I get it.
It's your sleep
not that
paralysis,
bad
man.
compared to some people. I don't have to sleep with the damn thing on. The dang thing. That's what I call it. But I'm standing more on that foot now.
Yeah.
Again, it was like my metatarsal.
Yeah.
I feel like
the side.
The side of it, thank God, not
Medically,
the middle.
the side. Hey,
yeah,
thank God. Not
the middle, I feel like would be just...
Not for nothing, thank God, not the middle.
Thank God it wasn't being in the middle. Praise. Because I think that would just be more annoying. The side, it's the side. I don't know how to describe it.
The side is the side, folks.
Again, a clean break. I don't have surgery. I'm going to be back in like 3 weeks for an x-ray for them to tell me.
Of course you had
I don't need this. To be real, if I can diagnose myself, didn't need this boot.
He's done a lot
I could
of
just put a
Googling.
regular boot on, but you have to wear another.
A normal boot would have done. Surely.
I believe it. Oh my God, they survived in the Middle Ages somehow.
I don't know. This might have been the kiss of death, you know? This might have been it. They died of like stomach aches back then. Old age was 37.
Yeah, because they were drinking water with God knows what inside of it.
The plague. Yeah.
The rats. So I have to wear.
Hashtag the rats,
I have to wear
yeah.
a cowboy boot to balance the heel with this thing.
Have to,
Because
yeah.
if not, I'm walking around the house, which I normally do because I don't want to wear boots around the house. But like then I'm lopsided, then the back starts hurting, then the other knee starts hurting.
It's a lot of compensating.
And now so the knee's coming back into action. But it's funny when I'm walking around without the boot, you see the little toes on the right foot,
Correct.
just doing the Lord's work. They are just like taking it all. They're doing them. They're gonna be so jacked before this is over. My
They're
little toes.
yeomans.
Yeah, they're the yeomans of my body right now.
Gavin, where do you feel that is compensating that you haven't felt before? Do you have any parts of
like
your body?
the inner hip.
Yes, there you go. That's
I think-
exactly right answer. Yes,
I also
because you're
think-
rolling your foot and you're never fully extending your knee now. Yeah, it's very weird.
And I'm really trying not to get my foot to be perpendicular as much as just to be straight on because you're just leaning more. I don't know. There's ways and then I'm always tempted. I'm like, I wish I could drive with this boot on, but there's absolutely no way because it's so big.
You got to be like me and drive with your opposite foot for over a year.
Oh, see, that is yeoman's work.
Truly,
I don't know how you do that.
You feel
That's
the
the way I
other hemisphere of your brain working at first when you do it. You're like, oh, yeah, no, this is controlled by the other side.
And part of me, when this is over, I'm like, do I need to counterbalance and put this boot on the other foot and give it some love?
So I can mess up my other hip flexor?
Well, get them in balance at least. But I do feel like things are getting a little bit. My legs are getting a little bit more toned somehow. So that's got to be one.
You'll
perk,
never
right?
have as good legs as I. We'll get Amy to judge after this. We'll see.
And then State House today. If you guys are not tuning in, like I said in the podcast, we're live in the lobby every Tuesday.
You don't
Wednesday,
know
Thursday.
who's going to show up.
You won't believe who's. We're treating it like the third hour of like the Today Show. Pretty
It's
much.
Watch What Happens live in the State House lobby.
And now we're on YouTube, so it's great. You're not watching us on like the over the air, which is fine. But it is kind of chaotic. We've had people walk through our live shot. I mean, I don't know. You see a giant light box.
No.
You see a camera.
No.
You see, I'm just gonna walk right here. And then, like we said, we grabbed Merle Smith and we're like, "Hey, yeah, we're live." And he's like, "Oh, what?"
I remember being a body man for you on State of the State, and I had to toss people from walking through the shop.
And that's a huge set, but they're still walking right through it.
An actual set. Like, it's not just a light. It is a full set with numerous cameras all pointing in one place.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, come on here,
I
people.
think they did it during the inauguration one year, too.
Correct, yeah.
Guys,
And I was...
we are off to the side here.
I was throwing people, grabbing them and tossing them.
Remember that inauguration? And
It was cold.
I think someone cued me. It was I did a great intro because I didn't have a teleprompter.
Yeah.
And they're like, we missed the cue.
We missed it.
Do it all again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, great. Screaming internally.
No,
but
they were
we
they
nailed
were
it.
talking to me and going, tell him he has to do it again. It's like, okay, great. Yeah.
He's going to love this.
Anyway, folks,
We know how to
Gavin,
do this again.
I remembered to record this one. So you can just say the outro and that's it. So have a good
Record button.
weekend, folks.
All right, y'all, give us a shout. Let us know about your personal injuries. And if you have a good lawyer for me in the greater Atlanta area, you can give us a shout at 803-563-7169. And stay up to date with the latest news on SCETV.org and SouthCarolinaPublicRadio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lede is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lead, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina.
She got like some weird chicken pizza.
which is very surprising.
Hashtag the rats.
I have to wear